Let's talk about the Fair Work Commission decision in relation to community preschool workers. And I'll note that in the gallery there are rank and file preschool members with over 150 years of teaching experience.
Very nice to see them.
Glorious.
I believe they are IAU members, if I saw.
Glorious in pink.
Congratulate you on being members of your union.
Have you read the Fair Work Commission recommendation?
I've read a bit of it.
Deputy President Wright issued a formal recommendation on the 16th of February directing the New South Wales Government to take, quote, all necessary action, including reviewing and increasing funding to give effect to this agreement. It's not a suggestion, it's a recommendation from the Fair Work Commission. Will you comply with it?
We are very mindful of the Fair Work Commission's response. We also recognise very much the persistent advocacy of the childcare workers and the IAU members who I've met with. I've met with their union about this issue and very much respect the fact that they are using their rights under federal law to pursue an increase. As for the New South Wales Government's immediate response to that recommendation, that's not a matter which I'm involved in, Ms Boyd, but it's a matter of obviously that the Education Department does. So I actually don't make the operational decision around our response to that, but I can absolutely let you know that we are in dialogue with the department about what its response is likely to be. I don't have any additional news to provide you on that front other than to say that I'm aware of the recommendation. I'm aware that the issues are being worked through now. As for the specific industrial relations response that the Fair Work Commission has recommended, it is really a matter for the Education Department to participate in this, because they are the ones who are, for one of it, they're not actually parties to the proceedings, but I believe they're the ones who have been invited to respond.
Yes, it's well known, Treasurer, that when it comes to funding, the buck stops with you in this government.
That's a legend.
There is an amount of funding required here that the Fair Work Commission has found that really, given that the New South Wales Government exercises such a degree of control over community preschools through Start Strong funding, its participation is required, but ultimately fee increases aren't a realistic option to fund the wage increase that's required. So it's going to require more funding from your government. Will you finally provide it?
Ms Boyd, it doesn't necessarily, that logic chain suggests that there's inadequate funding now. And the point that I'm making is that there's actually been a huge increase in childcare funding under the previous government and now government. As to how that money is being allocated, that again is something, particularly when it comes to the Start Strong component of our involvement, is obviously a departmental decision. It's not my decision.
So I think the
and I'm just to let me finish the answer. I've also had this conversation with the IAU. Because in fact, this was the specific point of conversation I had with the IAU, very respectfully with their leadership, who had every right and did seek out what exactly is the New South Wales Treasury's role here. And as I explained to the IAU's leadership, I'm happy to say to the workers now and everyone whose advocacy I respect, we have actually provided a huge amount of additional resources for childcare. How that is being allocated to community centre is obviously being worked through.
Can I just bring you just on this, because I think there's a couple of points that you've raised. Firstly, I think the preschool workers behind you will disagree that
I'm sure they would.
There's adequate funding.
Absolutely positive they would.
In reduced wages for far too long. But also, while the Fair Work Commission was dealing with this case, your government quietly released its 2026 Start Strong guidelines, which actually cut fee relief funding for 212 community preschools even further, and reducing total funding by up to 6.46% for 35% of services. So under your government, you've actually reduced the funding, and the Fair Work Commission is saying that as a matter of gender equity, because 92% of this workforce are women, it is up to the government to finally fund this sector properly so that these people can receive the wages that they deserve.
So there's three components to that. The first is that you're identifying one program of effectively three that we provide when
I'm talking about the funding that funds these particular preschools.
Sorry, Ms. Boyd, if you don't let me finish. You identified one of the programs. My point has been to the department and to the IAU that there's actually, between all of them, we will absolutely allow education to provide the policy guidance as to how they allocate the funding between the programs, which is why I just got back to the point that this is actually an operational matter for the department. It's not for me. There is any suggestion that you're making here publicly that somehow I make these calls is just not accurate.
Okay, so the buck doesn't stop with you.
No,
so
on this one,
the education minister,
so Ms. Boyd, if you let me finish.
It's very hard in the time, sorry.
If you let me finish, I well and truly respect your advocacy, as I do the IEUs, as do others, but this advocacy about these operational allocation of funding is different to the quantum of funding. that is, you're disputing how the money is being allocated, and you are disputing the quantum. I accept that. I'm saying the quantum has increased at exponential levels, and incidentally, not without controversy.
It's just not going to workers.
And insofar as that is your position, I understand it, but that is an issue that fundamentally I suspect that you'll be raising with the Deputy Premier when she appears before estimates.